Good afternoon, Martin.
Good afternoon, Siobhan. How are you?
I'm great. I'm great. It's such a pleasure to meet you. I've heard so much about you, and I'm delighted that you could connect with me today. I'm really grateful for that. Thank you.
No problem at all. My pleasure.
Yeah, so Martin, I had hoped that you'd be able to visit our school and deliver inspirational speech or a motivational speech for our students, because I've heard you're a really, really good role model for young people. So in the place of that, because we can't do that because of COVID-19, I'm so glad that you agreed to do an interview and to just have a discussion about the transition to secondary school.
Yeah, anytime. It is the conversation that has to be had.
Yeah, so I know that this will be good for our students, and I think it will be good for a lot of other sixth class students out there now preparing for secondary school, because it is a big move, isn't it?
Oh, it's mammoth. Like, you go from being this big fish in the pond to the smallest fish in the ocean. It's a big jump.
Yeah, and Martin, just so that anybody watching this knows a little bit of your background, I'm just going to ask you. So, as a kid, now you're considerably younger than me, so you're closer to all of this. But as a kid, what were your dreams?
I suppose when I was a kid, there was only two things I really loved, and that was football and WWE. Although I never really dreamed. Obviously, you dream about maybe I could make it one day, but I never. It's not a hobby I had. I just really wanted to just enjoy myself as a kid. And then when I got into secondary school, kind of think, oh well, what am I going to do with my life? And I kind of jumped between professions for a while. I started off in TY thinking I wanted to be a chef. And I kept it up till fifth year doing culinary arts. I was going to maybe do it in GMIT or Athlone IT. Then I changed my mind again and I wanted to go into hotel and catering management, which I ended up going into when I finished Garbly in secondary school. I did it for like a week and I said, you know what, like, I the rest of my life. You kind of just have a feeling that the time is now, you might as well make the most of it. Just if you're not feeling it, just change your mind. And that's exactly what I did. I remember I dropped out on a Wednesday. And then I went to the PLC college called Galway Technical Institute, which is down by the fire station in Galway. And I got their prospectus and I was flipping through the pages and I was like, well, what can I do here? What do I like? And then I landed, I'm studying now in college, which is journalism. And I said, I will try that for a year. If I don't like it, sure, I can go back to hotel management. And I said, yeah, sure, we'll do that. Ended up falling in love with it, and now I'm studying it in the University of Limerick. I'm in my third year now, from September.
Wow, very, very interesting, Martin. And I was telling you that we have six students going on to secondary school this year. We're a small rural school, and all six of them come from the traveling community, and they're fabulous. I have to say, a fabulous group of kids. Within that, we have two boys and four girls. And there was one thing you said there in what you were when you were talking about your choices and the different things that you tried. You mentioned you were looking at different options and you said, oh, well, what can I do next? What can I do? And would you believe it? That's actually a phrase that we are constantly trying to use with our kids. We tell them, you know, in every situation, ask yourself, what can I do? What can I do here? And do it. And do
Yeah,
it. So would you think that that's good advice?
I think that's a great motto to live by, because end of the day, if you get stagnant or you kind of get taken aback, you can think about your and then see where it goes from there. Because end of the day, every step you take takes you closer to some other destination.
Brilliant. And Martin, so as a kid, I don't know if you can cast your mind back to say sixth class, when you were preparing or thinking about going to secondary school. Do you remember that feeling?
I do. I remember I didn't really sleep well the night before because I was so excited and nervous. You know, you have all these different feelings. Like, because for me, I in third class, I switched to a school where a lot more of my cousins were. So I had a group of people that I went to school with for 5 years and then 3 years. that I haven't seen in a long time. So when I was going into first year, I got to see all those people again, and it was nice. So like you will be nervous. Like there's no doubt about that. But the nerves soon die off in the same day. You know, you go into the classroom, meet your teachers or your year head. You'll see a few people. They could ask, "Hey, do you have a pen I could borrow?" And then the relationship would just spawn out of that. Like it's amazing.
And Martin, looking back now, you went all the way through secondary school. And what would you say were the best things about secondary school?
I loved meeting people first off because I'm a very extrovert type of person. I like to meet people, but when I started, I was a bit nervous. I was a young lad, like didn't really know what's going to happen, and then you kind of come into yourself. You learn a lot about yourself, and then the one thing that I loved the most was probably transition year. I did transition year in which is fourth year, and we ended up just bonding with all the boys. Like there was people that you would have been in school with, and you were like, well, I'm not gonna like that guy. You know, we don't talk, we're not friends. And then see what happens. You could end up going on a trip or something, could sit beside them, then your best pals. Like time and time again, that's what happens. Like it's just an amazing experience.
Fabulous. And then the other side of that, I suppose we have to be realistic and prepare our students for all sorts. What would you say the biggest challenges of secondary school were?
I suppose for me, as my surname is Mongan, I had a few cousins who were a few years above me that would have caused trouble, and the name was kind of not really tainted, but sometimes they just have this opinion of you before you walk in the door. So the first thing that was, well, once the teachers get to meet you and they kind of learn about you, like how you get on, what your goals are, they kind of lose that opinion. But it's always in the back of your mind, you know. You're always like, well, if I mess up in this test, maybe the guy beside me is like, well, so what do you expect? Like, you kind of have to prove people wrong, and you never lose that. Even in third level where I am now, it's always in the back of your mind. Like maybe people think you're failing because of your background when you just want to prove to them that you deserve to be there. Like,
Mm. So it sounds like, Martin, you've great belief in yourself, as we would want all of our students to have. But it's not easy, I'd imagine, at times to keep that going. Or is it? Do you have any special tactics or self-talk or something that you could share with our students?
well, the motto I have in life, and it's kind of a bit of a cliche, but it is don't take criticism. Sorry, don't take criticism from someone you wouldn't go to for advice. Which pretty much means that if, like, you could have your best friend, you could ask him a question, he'll give you advice or she'll give you advice on the topic, but you're not going to go to someone who's been degrading you or talking negatively or bullied you. You're not going to go to them for advice because you don't trust them. So when you're going into different challenges, it's important to think, if I was to ask someone who I love very much or I know very well what they think, and if they tell me maybe you're doing something wrong, you would heed it, you listen to a lot more than someone that you don't really trust is saying, yeah, yeah, keep doing that, knowing well that it's not the right way to go about it and want to see you fail. So you kind of have to keep your circle small and pure. I suppose what is the best way to put it.
Wow, that's really, really well said, Martin. Very interesting. Now, what I'm hearing there as well is, and I heard this in some of the communications we had before this talk, was your sense of pride in who you are, in your culture, in your name, in your family. And I love that because I know from the families we have here in the school and the students we meet, there's such a richness of culture, and there's such character amongst them. I often wish that more people who are not from the traveling community could come through the doors and experience what we're privileged to get to experience on a daily basis. But I do know that there are certain challenges that our students coming from the traveling community will face that other students may not have to face. So would that be your experience?
I think not well. Yeah, yes, and those in secondary school, which your students will go into September or whenever school starts again.
Mhm.
You'll notice that you have one goal, and that is to just get through. Whether it's just to get through secondary school, to just say, look, I did it, I gave it my best shot, or even if your goal is to be like, you know what, I'll do this to junior cert and see if I like it, which a lot of my cousins did. When I started Garbly, there was 12 other travellers with me, and then when I finished Garbly, I was the only one left. 10 of them dropped out with me, well, in junior cert, after junior cert in my year. And then as I did TY, you stay behind a year as such that you stay with your junior cert class. And those that don't want to do TY, they jump into fifth year. So two other lads jumped into fifth year and they finished it, but the rest of the boys dropped out. So you kind of have to make your own destiny in a way, or your own choices, in order to get down the road and see what you want to do with yourself. So I genuinely do think that you need to kind of be like a horse with blinkers on, just keep looking straight ahead and don't look at what your cousin or your pal is saying beside you, who might make you feel insecure about whatever you're doing. If you want to do it, just keep doing it, because at the end of the day, it's your life.
I love that. It's your
It's
life.
yeah, it's your life. When you're 20 or 30, and maybe, look, you went through college, you found a job that you love, and you're there, and you're 30, and you have all these awards, and you've all these life experiences, and they're like, well, I wish I did that, but I
Yeah,
didn't believe in myself. You don't want to look back with the what ifs. You want to look back with, I'm proud I did that.
fantastic. Very motivational. So, Martin, you've said a good bit about secondary school and you've gone on to college now, like you said. So, how are you finding college?
Oh, I love college. Like, I honestly do love it. I think, though, I had a bit of a privilege in the way that I went through a PLC system, which is, for those that don't know, after leaving cert, you have the option to go into college through the CAO, which you get points from you leaving cert grades, or you can decide, if you pass 5 out of your 6 leaving cert exams, you can go into a PLC course for a year or 2 years, and if you get the required amount of distinctions or merits, you could go on to college. You can just move up. So I did a PLC in journalism, so I kind of had a taste for it. So that did help. But then, even like nowadays, I'm in second year, just finished second year. After first year, you're in with the rest of the people. You don't know anything. You don't have any additional information that you learned the year before. You're all in the same boat at this stage. So you get to mingle with people, you get to meet people from different parts of the country. Like, I've friends from Donegal, Cork, Waterford, Dublin, that you'd never meet otherwise, and you get to kind of see how they act and how they learn things. Because you could adopt their technique of learning, or writing down notes, for example. And that could help you progress, and you could teach them how to do something that you know how to do, and then you could end up benefiting everyone, and everyone can become better at the course.
Martin, you mentioned there you managed to make friends from different parts of Ireland, and I presume you've made friends from who are not from the traveling community, from various different backgrounds, I imagine. And I just wanted to ask a question. So when you're interacting and with people from different backgrounds and from making friends with people from different backgrounds, do you think in any way that that impacts on your own appreciation of your own culture, or
Oh, it definitely does. I definitely do. Like, looking, like, even when I'm talking to my friends from all different parts of the country, like, I love them, but you kind of learn different things about yourself they didn't know. Like, I would put a lot of importance on, like, family and relationships with your family and friends, while others are very, like, they would have had maybe broken households where they would have moved out when they were 14 with their brother or something, and wouldn't put family to high regard, or they would prefer, I want to make as much money as I can, they would have different goals and different motives in life. And whether they're a traveller or not, I know travellers that would be the same. They would be very money orientated instead of family and friends orientated. And that's fine too. It's your life, as I said. But I think a lot of it comes down to the person, not their background as such. I think it's just what people value.
Mm. And I think I would have spent a lot of time teaching and working in different countries. So I would have met people from various different cultural backgrounds. And my experience would have been similar to your own, that, when you're exposed to people from different cultures, it kind of gives you a deeper sense of who you are yourself and a
Absolutely.
appreciation of your own culture. So it doesn't in any way put it at risk or anything like that.
Oh, not at all.
And I
It makes
also,
it stronger, if anything.
yeah, and I also like what you said there about the importance of family, because we definitely see that in our school, how important family is to our students and the extended family, and it's a very close knit unit, and
Yeah.
that's something really to be admired. And I hope our students will be able to continue to hold on to that as they go forward. But I think sometimes as well it might lend itself to kind of a fear of for the parents of letting their children go and letting their children go too far away from them. So I'm
Yeah.
just thinking in terms of third level, are there ways, can you imagine, or do you know that our students could avail of a third level education without going too far from their families?
Absolutely. So, like, obviously, since go to English, they're from Galway, Ballinasloe, really. So, if like there's PLC colleges on the place, there's one Moat, there's a few in Galway, which is about 45 minutes away. Like, even in terms of going into third level straight up, there's Athlone IT, there's
Mm,
Beam IT, there's NUI Galway, and like there's definitely options if you don't want to go too far away from home. But in my experience, if I was to have been stuck in a box that I had to stay close to home, I my course, for example, I wouldn't even be able to do it. I'd have to go to NUI Galway, which wasn't what I wanted to do because I went to Galway the year before and I said, I've kind of have enough of this. It's kind of a place you need to live. You need to live in Galway. If you travel up and down, it gets a bit hairy, I suppose. So I do think that before you look at having to stay close knit, like your family, your kids will always love you, whether they're in Athlone IT or down in Cork, UCC or Dublin. They're still going to love you. They're still only a few hours away. We're blessed that Ireland is so small that we're not in like America where you need to get a flight to the other side of the country or something. You're always a phone call away too. I kind of think that you kind of need to let them, like, obviously tell anyone how to teach their or to raise their kid, but maybe just let their wings, I don't know what the word is, maybe let them spread their wings,
yeah, yeah.
fix them.
Let them go, I suppose, safe in the knowledge that they'll come back.
Exactly, yes.
Yeah. Well, Martin, I think you're a strong example of that, and I know you speak so highly of your own family. So that leads me nicely on to our next question, which is, what or who inspires you?
Sorry, you
It's
broke up a bit there.
Sorry, it's what or who inspires you, Martin?
Well, my parents, first of all, they're the first teachers in your life. Like my family, my parents, we lived in council accommodation for. We are going to still in council accommodation because of, unfortunately, my parents didn't finish school, so they had to leave at a younger age. They didn't get the opportunities that I did, and you kind of see that they just make things work. They just want the best for you. Like even when I started in the University of Limerick, my dad, who couldn't read or write, he went to the local training centre in Ballinasloe, and he's now in linguistics where he's learning how to read and write again. And even at the moment, he's in the kitchen doing crosswords, like word searches. Like he's just getting totally immersed in it, and it's great to see. Like they're obviously the people you look up to the most, and then I suppose maybe that someone that isn't family related, I suppose it'd be James McLean. I don't know if you know who that is, but he's a footballer from Derry who he was born during the Troubles in Derry, and he's from a place called Cregan in Derry, and 12 out of 14 people were killed. It's called Bloody Sunday, or the Sunday Massacre,
Mm.
Sunday, and they were killed by the British Army. And James, he plays football in England, and he has done since 2012, I think. But every November in England for 2 weeks, 2 weekends around Remembrance Sunday, English teams wear the poppy on their chest, and he refuses to wear it for obvious reasons. And he's came out with like open letters to fans and everything, explaining why you won't wear it. But he gets a lot of abuse for it. Every time he gets the ball, they boom. His own fans would boom sometimes. So just looking at that man, the way that he handles criticism and the fact that he stands up to what he believes in, even when the entire country is against him, it's very inspiring. Like,
Mm-hmm. It shows certain strength of character. Takes a
yeah,
lot of
exactly.
strength of character. And Martin, I'm just wondering, like you are a male from the traveling community, do you think it is significantly different for girls from the traveling community in relation to approaching secondary school or making plans to go on to third level? Do you know of many girls from the traveling community? I know a few myself who have pursued careers and third level education.
Um, at the top of my head, I know maybe 4 or 5. Um, I know one girl from Baranoffley who was actually going on to become a teacher. She's in AIT, and I think she's going on to do a master's next year in primary school teaching. So I'll give you her details if you'd like maybe to get her talk about her experiences from her perspective. Because at the end of the day, I'm only looking in while
Yeah.
she's living in it. But I suppose I would know a few, as I said, that they would have a different type of prejudice really from the fact that being a woman in the 21st century is not easy. The way that women are, they're not seen, they're not held to a higher regard as it should be. It should be total equality in everything. So like they would get a lot more prejudice about it, maybe even from travellers too, let alone non-travellers. So I
Yeah.
think that if you get their perspective a lot more, they'd know a lot more about it. So
Yeah. Well, thank you. Thanks, Martin. Because within our group that are moving on to secondary school, we would definitely have students that we could imagine might be teachers. We'd have a guy who could be a professional trainer, landscapers, beauticians, shop assistants. We'd have some good politicians too, some great politicians. I'd say they'd be, if they could speak as well as you, which I think some of them are very close. Because what we really want for them is to be able to stand up and speak out for themselves, their families, their communities, and as they move forward, to stay true to who they are, because we know their culture is so important to them, and they have a great culture, and we don't hear enough positives about the traveler culture, and it's sometimes maybe in the media it's all the negative that's portrayed, but there are so many positive elements of it as well. So, Martin, we're coming to the end, and just in finishing up, but before we finish up, I was just going to ask you: could you condense the advice you have for our students now preparing for secondary school? Could you condense it into maybe the 3 most important pieces of advice? Now, that could be for secondary school, or it could be for life in general.
yeah. Okay. The first point I'd like to make is always back yourself. At the end of the day, it's your life. You're walking in your shoes. No one else's opinion really matters. As like a horse with blinkers, that's all you have to do. Think about yourself. You're number one in the situation. No one's going to live your life for you. And then I suppose number 2 would be, as I said, the motto is don't accept criticism from someone you wouldn't go to fights. And I think that's a very important saying to have, because you need to kind of be wary of who you're mixing with in a way that they're not bad influences or negative influences on you as a person, what you want to do, and how you wish to live your life. At the end of the day, you're not answerable to anyone on this planet. The way you want to live, it's on you and only you. And the third point I'd like to make is, yeah, like, don't really know a third point.
Might come to you in a minute. Those 2 points have plenty within them. Anyway, fantastic advice. And Martin, just before we finish up, is there anything you'd like to ask me or anything additional you'd like to add?
I'd like to, maybe for you as a person that obviously you care a lot about your students, maybe just check up on them when they get into first year. I'm sure you probably will anyway. Just, see how they're getting on. If they're feeling doubtful, tell them just keep going. It's only day one or year one. There's still 5 more years to go. It's only early days yet.
Yeah, and that 5 years goes quickly.
Oh, it flies.
Doesn't it? Yeah, because I have teenagers myself, and I can't believe how quickly the years are going. And Martin, I've read some of your articles and some of your writings. I'm sure you're going to make an amazing journalist.
Thanks a million.
And I really look forward to following your career with interest, and I'll definitely be looking out for your articles in future. So fair play to you.
Thanks a million.
You're very welcome. And hopefully next year we'll have you in person in our school.
Fingers crossed. Fingers crossed.
Thanks, Martin. Thanks for checking in. Bye-bye. Bye-bye.